Well, hi, Sherry. Good to see you. Oh, you're driving, I know. We will be getting started in 1 minute. And you're in for a treat. You have Deacon Herbert Wynn speaking to you this evening. I'm being the able-bodied assistant today. It is 3:59. We have 1 minute. And we will be talking about retirement today. You have done excellent with learning about what to do, how to get out of debt, how to get your bills together, how to spend your money wisely. So now we're going to tell you some of the benefits of being faithful to get all of that done. So it is now straight up 4 o'clock, and I'm going to read the scripture for you, and then I'm going to turn it over to the master himself. So our scripture this evening is Isaiah 46, verses 3 through 5. The NLT version says, "Listen to me. I have cared for you since you were born. Yes, I cared for you before you were born. I will be your God throughout your lifetime until your hair is white with age. I made you. I will care for you. I will carry you along and save you. To whom will you compare me? Who is my equal?" So the Lord is saying, from the time you were born to the time that you die, He is here to care for you in all aspects of your life. And so I'm going to turn this over to Herbert Wynn, and he is going to speak to you about retirement.
Thank you, Beverly. Thank you very much for opening up. You know, the thing about it is this last 3 weeks, the last three sessions we had before this one, we talked about getting out of debt. You know, in order for you to retire, you need to be in a position where you're out of debt. But today in class, Bishop said something about the definition for success. Becoming the person God created me to be and achieving the goals that God helped me to set. So if you plan on retiring, you need to make sure God is in your plans. You got to make sure that He's there to help you to set the goals that you need. Now, from what I see, is not that many on the call today. You know, for some reason, you know, people say they want to get their finances together. People will say they want to get out of debt, and people say they want to retire. But this thing about retiring is it's going to happen one way or the other. It's called volunteer retiring. That's when you set your own plans and you work your plan and you do it when you want to do it. Involuntary is either age, health, or your job goes out, put you out. You lose your job. So I mean, it's you're gonna retire one way or the other. You know. Now, what are you gonna do after you retire? That's something you need to look at. So right now, what I'm gonna talk about is kind of one of the things that Bella and I did. And actually, I went back. I had been with UPS for 20 years, and this was 1990. And we got a contract that says that if at 30 years with the company, if you was 50 years old, you could retire with your benefits. So that kind of kept my mind working, because then I hadn't even thought about it, because basically I had, under the old plan, I would have to work, at least I was 57 and a half. That would be considered early retirement. But when they brought that 7.5 years off, my mind started thinking, I need to prepare myself so that if I want to retire, I can. And that's what we did. I came up with a plan. It was a 10-year plan that I needed to be able to be out of debt. I needed to have $100,000 in the bank. And the reason for that was so that the decision wasn't a financial decision. We had enough money to take care of everything. Now, in 1991, and this is how God kind of works when you work with him, is that he brought to the church Crown Ministry. Now, I notice everybody on here tonight, on the day, has went through Crown Ministry. And basically what Crown Ministry was, it was a program where they showed you how to get out of debt. They showed you how to do budgeting and stuff like that. And you did it on a day-to-day basis. You kept up with everything that you were spending. Now, I went back and got my Crown Ministry book, and this is dated January the 21st, 1991. And in doing my assets, which is what I had as far as valuable things, I had $100 in the bank. Well, I said, we had $100 in our savings. Again, now I'm saying this is a 10-year plan, I'm gonna have $100,000, but at this particular point, that's the first thing on the list is how much money can you convert to cash? We had $100 in the bank. Now we did have some other assets, and when you put the liability against the assets, supposedly we were worth about $38,000 if we could sell everything at what I projected it as being worth. Now, the thing about it was, when you do this plan, you have to be able to, you got to have a why. Your why has got to be bigger than your why not. It's kind of like, you know, everybody said they want to lose weight, but nobody want to stop eating. Everybody said they want to get out of debt, but nobody want to stop spending. You know, so those are the two best ways to get out of debt and to lose weight. If you want to lose weight, stop eating. Give me an example. 2 weeks ago, I got food poisoning. So I could not eat for 3 or 4 days and hold anything down. I lost 8 pounds. Now that was an involuntary weight loss. Now what I'm doing now is I'm trying to adjust myself to a point where I don't want to gain that 8 pounds back. So I'm giving up my sweet tea. And I love some good syrup type sweet tea, you know, where you drink half of it up and you can fill it up with water and you don't have to add no sugar or no nothing. It still tastes about the same. You know, so if you stop eating, you're gonna lose weight. If you stop spending, you can get out of debt. But the bottom line is you can't live without eating. So what you have to do is adjust your eating to a way that you're burning more calories than you're eating, than you're taking in. Same way with getting out of debt. You got to be able to spend less than you're making. And that's what most of us get in the problem, how we get in debt. We get in debt by spending more money, that impulse buying, you know, spending more money than what you actually have. Now, I guess I need to do a disclaimer. I am not a financial planner. I am not licensed to give out this information. So basically the information mostly I'm gonna give out is information that helped me to do what I needed to do. Now there are plenty of lose weight diets. If you want to lose weight, there's 100 diets out there you can get on. If one don't work, you just get another one. Same way with getting out of debt. There's 100 different ways of getting out of debt. But the bottom line is you got to bring in more money than what you're spending. And you got to pay off your debt. So if you're not out of debt, the first thing you need to do is pay your bills on time. That should be your first goal. Pay your bills on time. The second part of that goal is to start paying them early. Because every day you pay your bill early, that's a day's worth of interest that you're saving on that bill. Then what you want to do is you want to get to a point where you're paying a month ahead. So now you're 30 days of interest you're saving every month that you pay that bill. So once you get like that, then you start thinking, okay, now I'm looking at the people on here, and all of us are over 50. So that means we're at a point now where we plan on retiring, it's going to be in the next 10 to 15 years. Some of you may be planning on retiring before that. So if you hadn't put a plan together, if you got retirement on your job, that's good. But one thing in my planning I didn't realize was I retired when I was 50. UPS gave me a set amount every year that they was going to pay me. There was no cost of living on it. So that means 22 years later, I'm still drawing the same amount of money I was in 2000. So you got to look at the adjustment of your lifestyle. What is your lifestyle going to be after you retire? And your money is going to still be the same. Now you might figure it up. Okay, when I retire, I'm going to get X amount of dollars every month. But that X amount, you may be still getting that 10 years later, but that the spending power of that money will go down. So you need more than one source of income. Now if you, in most cases, if you worked on a job, you got retirement there, you may also have Social Security. Now, Social Security give you a cost of living. It may not be but 1 or 2%, but at least it moves. It makes your mind think that you're getting more money, even though your spending power probably is going down. Those are some of the things. Like I said, you got to have a why. Your why has got to be bigger. My why was bigger than just working at UPS. I wanted to do something else. It wasn't that I hated my job. I worked with guys and ladies who complain every day. You've seen them that they hate their job. They hate doing what they do. I was not one of those persons. I didn't leave because I hated the job. There were some people out there I didn't care that much about, but the job I got along pretty good. But retiring is all up in your head. You got to make up your mind that you're gonna do this, and it's gonna take a long term. Now, the other thing I want to tell you, the 10 years that we worked on getting out of debt and getting ready to retire, that was the money I used to buy the house for nothing. Well, not for nothing, but buy the house without getting a mortgage. Everybody said they want to own their own home, but you got to prepare. God will help you to do it. God wants you to write a plan, and then God's going to help you work the plan. But if you want to be a good steward of what God gives you, He wants to give you more. But if you're not being a good steward of what you got, then you're not going to ever get anything. We have people who are pledged $2,000, $5,000 for the first fruit, and they'll say, God, if you bring it in, I'm gonna pay it. But then you'll get your income tax and it'll be $5,000. Instead of you paying that $5,000 like you told God you're gonna do, you might pay $1,000 on that. Then you're gonna go down to the Bahamas for a couple of weeks. You're gonna put a down payment on a car. But God is saying, you asked me to give you the money. I gave you the money, but you use it for everything except what you said you were gonna do it. So you need to, when you write down your goals, you need to write them down in a way, not necessarily an easy way for you to complete it, but you want to be able to do what you say you're going to do. Okay. The other thing is you need to be able to recalibrate what you're going to write down as your goals as far as getting ready for retirement. It's an adjustment. It may be once a month. It may be, if you write down a budget and that budget didn't work out that month, look at what you put down there and adjust it, because the rewards that you put down for yourself, and you need to put some rewards in your budget. There needs to be a day out. There needs to be a movie time or something. It needs to be something that gives you a reward at the end of the week. Maybe it's just going to Starbucks instead of making your own coffee. Just go in there and sit down and talk to somebody. It may be something different, but you need to be able to do that because your why has got to be better than your why not. You got to be able to adjust it weekly. Make your adjustments. If it's something on there that ain't working, cross it out and put something else there. Put another amount. If you're putting down, I'm gonna spend $10 a day for lunch, and 5 days a week for your lunch, but every day you going over. Well, you might need to move that budget up to $15 and then look somewhere else where you can take that money from. Or you need to kind of figure out a way to, okay, I need to have a little bit more because I need tip money too. So, you need to make the adjustment. And the bottom line is, people, I know we got the Turners on, they went through Ramsey program, and his program is more like never get in debt. Well, there is a such thing as good debt. And you say, how is it good debt? Well, in my case, I'm going to explain how I feel good debt is. Bill and I have 2 cars. We also have 2 car notes. So that means we are actually in debt. But the thing about it was, one of the car notes was a 2.5% interest, and the other one was a 3.2. Well, in order for me to pay cash for them cars, I would have had to sell off some stock or something that was bringing me in 6 or 7%. So it was better for me to charge the stuff and continue to make more money with my money than to pay off the cars. So to me, that's a good debt. because that money is still growing and I can pay it off anytime I want to pay it off by just selling off something. You know, Elon Musk is the owner of Tesla, and everybody knows about what is it, Twitter or something, one of those social media companies for $44 billion. And somebody said, oh, he got the money. No, he don't have the money. He got stock. His money is not cash money. He's going to have to sell something, or he's going to put some of his stock up for collateral to buy that company. He's going to have to look at the way that's going to be the most profitable for him. Now, he don't want to give up no control of his car company, you know, so he may use some other stock that he got out there. So it's good stock, it's good credit and bad credit. I heard one financial planner said that he would rather, he said the wealthy, I'm gonna get this right, the wealthy spends other folks' money on stuff that depreciate in value. But the wealthy spend their money or invest their money on something that's gonna make more money. So that's based about what I did was when I bought those cars. Instead of taking that money and buying the car and had the car paid for, I took that same money and left it into some accounts that was making me money, making me more money than the interest I was paying on the debt. So that's what I consider good debt. But you know, the Bible tells us we should be the lender instead of the borrower. So you have to have your own preference how you look at stuff like that. So the other thing, like I said, make your adjustments. If you're gonna reach your destination, you got to first have a point of where you're going. So retirement is it's kind of like what you need to do is when you're planning for your retirement is you take a sheet of paper, you go about 3/4 of the way down and you put the date that you want to retire. And then you put down how much money you want in the bank. Then you want to put in how much money you want coming in every month. And then you put all the other things that you want to do when you retire. But then you go back up at the top of the paper and depending on how many years it is, you put the numbers. Okay, if it's 10 years before you retire, you put 10 numbers. And then on the first one, you start saying, what do I need to do to achieve what's down at the bottom? In our case, we wanted to have $100,000 in the bank. So we had to figure out a way that we can go from zero savings to putting in $99,999 or whatever it was to achieve that. Well, I'm gonna tell you, when we got there, show you how God worked, we had over $180,000 in the bank. So that makes the retirement idea a little bit easier because not only had we reached the goal that we set, we had overreached it. So that made it a little bit more common because I was giving up $42,000 in the difference in what my retirement was going to be and what I was making in 1991 when I first started. Another thing happened to us that's different from the Crown Ministry was about 2 or 3 years later, Bishop brought in first fruit. So that also helped us to set goals. That also started us to spending more time praying to God and what we need to do and how we need to work this thing out, you know. So you got to be able to set, first of all, you got to get your why. You got to be willing to make adjustments. And then you got to have your destination in place. You got to pay your bills on time. You got to pay them ahead of time. You got to pay your bills monthly and early. You got to start paying off all your debt. After if you done went what we was talking about in the last 3 weeks of getting your budget, if you done put your budget down, you should know what debt you're in. You should know what the interest rates on those debts. You should know what the monthly payments are on those debts. You need to know what days those debts are due. You know, all this stuff. I can remember when I had this $100, if a debtor called me, I would tell him how my system worked. My system was I put all my bills in the shoebox. And I put them in there according to when they do. I pick up the one that's due the next time and I pay down to the point where my money run out. Now, if somebody called me in between, I slide your payment back down, your thing back up under the bottom. So if you keep calling me, you ain't gonna never get paid. I see y'all laughing on that, but that was the truth. Because luckily I didn't have to tell a lot of them that because we have always been pretty good at paying our bills and stuff.
I'll just say first time I've heard of that system, but I think I might like it if I really want to give you some benefits.
Well,
Thank
it
you.
works. I mean, it keeps people from calling you. I said, okay, now this is my system. So if you call me back, you know it's going to be next month before you get anything, because you're going behind everybody else now. But you want to get to a point where, like you say, you're paying everything ahead. Now,
yes,
if retirement is coming up, and you don't have, if you have a 401 at your job, if they match a certain percentage that you put in, that should be the first thing you should do. If they match 3%, you need to put 3% of your income, and they gonna put 3% of your income. That's double profit right there. You put in $100, they gonna put in $100. I mean,
free
but I know
money,
people who don't do that.
free money.
Yeah, free money. Okay. Now, what you want to do at our age, and I'm like I said, I'm looking at most of the people on here. At our age, you need to be able to, you need to get it to the max. Now, the way I got mine to the max, and how Beverly got hers to the max, when I retired, we were both putting 17% of our income into a 401 plan. And that's 17% of the gross. And how we didn't miss it was, when I first get, like I said, when I came up with the plan, I knew we had just got a 401(k) at the company. We got a raise. I put the raise in there. So they wasn't matching mine. I put the raise in there. So then after about 6 months, I realized, well, that wasn't that much difference in my regular paycheck. So then I went up another 3%. And then a year later, I got another raise. Then I went up another 3%. So every 6 months, I was going up 3%, and I wasn't seeing the difference. Now, in some jobs, it's not like it. Some jobs, you're on a set monthly amount, so it's easy for you to see. In my case, I had a job where you get overtime, so I could work more to create more income, so I wouldn't see it. But again, we were putting 17% of our income. I did that for nine of the 10 years before I retired. And then Bella continued to do hers for another 7 years or 6 years before she retired. So that's how our income, that's how our savings really grew, because it was going in there tax deferred, and it grew real quick. And that makes you stay on point too. When you start seeing them statements where your money is growing, then you start, your chest kind of start coming out. It's working. When you're trying to lose weight, and you done went a whole month and you get on the scales and you still weigh the same thing you did when you started, you get discouraged real quick. But that's when the adjustment has to come in. Okay. Now, the good thing about me retiring early, and I put this down here too, was since I retired 21 years and 11 months ago, UPS has paid me over $700,000 not to come to work. Now, I didn't look at retirement as being a way just to sit back and do nothing, but they done paid me that for not to come to work. That's why I was looking at it. They was paying me not to come to work. Okay, so that's how you have to look at it if you're gonna retire. Now, there's a lot of other things you have to look at before you retire too. You have to start looking at where you plan on living, how much your expenses is going to be. You need to put down your expenses at retirement. Some people and jobs for most of the time, like my retirement program is set up with at 66% of my base salary. Most people think, oh, well, if you retire, you're not spending as much because you're not going to work every day. But you'll be surprised how much money you can spend in 7 days not going nowhere. And when we was locked down in 2020, we looked out the door one day and it was a UPS truck, a FedEx truck, and an Amazon truck all parked in the yard at the same time. We couldn't go nowhere, so we were just ordering stuff. But the good thing, it didn't put us in debt. We eat out a lot. See, that's what you got to realize. If you're an active retiree, now if you're going to work till you can't do any activities and you can't do no traveling, then your income, you might be able to live off of 66% of what you got now. But if you plan on having a good retirement where you're going to be doing things, traveling and seeing people or going places you wasn't able to go when you was working, you're gonna need more income coming in at retirement than you did when you was working. So you got to also start looking at what could be a second stream of income for me when I retire. Something I can start on now, maybe part-time, because that's what happened to me. As we were going through the Crown ministry, I was praying, okay, Lord, I'm gonna be 50 years old. I know I'm gonna have to do something. I need something that had the versatility that I would want, something that I could work when I want to. I can make some money. If I wanted to take off for a month or two, I could. It wouldn't have nothing to do with the business. And God brought me a general contractor's business. I was gonna be a handyman. I went down there to get my license for my business. They didn't have a handyman license. They had a contractor's license. So I became a general contractor. And before I started my business, I had never worked on a construction site in my life. So you may have to be doing something that you ain't never done before. It's something that you can use as a hobby, but you can turn a hobby into something that's making you some money. And even now, 21 years later, as I'm retiring from being a contractor, I still get calls. I got people that I've been doing work for 21 years since I've been in the business. They still call me, but now it's a little different. I like to leave home at 10 and be back at 2. And I want $100 or $200 in my pocket. So I'm not doing a lot of stuff. I'm just doing smart stuff. Okay. And most of you also know that Beverly and I own a travel business. Why? Because we love to travel. I've been on 18 cruises. Beverly's been on probably about 23. And we were looking the other day for some. I personally believe that a cruise is one of the best vacations you can take.
Hands down, 100%.
You pay all your money up front.
Right.
You don't have to spend another dime if you don't want to, and you're gonna have all the food you can eat.
Yep. And then some
we
more.
We can go down to Destin. We were looking the same way. We looked at a cruise. We looked at going down to Destin. The hotels down there now, Destin and Panama City, are running $250, $300 a night.
Yep.
For a travel agent. Well, you can get on a cruise ship for $100, $200 a night.
And see several different destinations.
Yep. And people say, well, I'd rather have an all-inclusive on the island. I said, well, if you take a 7-day trip to Cancun for 7 days, all-inclusive, that's great. Everything is in one thing. But if you get there the first day and you don't like it, you just stuck there for 6 more days. On a cruise ship, if you go to the Bahamas, you get off and you don't like it, you just go back and get on back on the ship. The next day, you in Puerto Rico. You got a second chance. If you don't like that, the next day you're at a private island.
Right.
If you don't like that, the next day you're somewhere else. And in the Virgin Islands,
stay on the
always
boat.
something else happening, So think about what you're gonna be doing when you retire. How much money you're gonna need, because you need to work on that now. If you plan on retiring in the next 2 or 3 years, you may have to work harder. It's better for you to give up something for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years to be able to feel comfortable in your retirement. Okay, any questions? Okay, Regina.
Not really a question, but just an observation. When you were talking about why it's smart to put money into your company's retirement plan, I had a job years ago where I would do enrollment meetings for companies that were our clients, and we would talk about their retirement plan. And the thing that most people don't understand is that when you put money in there, you're putting it in there pre-tax. You're putting it away before the government takes their part of it. So you are actually saving for a later date. And right now you're reducing your taxable income. So you're doing two smart things at once. You're saving for the future and you're paying less taxes right now. And I've never met anybody that ever said they wanted to pay more in taxes.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, and if you're not participating and your company offers a match, you're leaving free money on the table. Why would you want to do that?
Yeah, especially if you're saying you need more money or want more money. I think we all want to get out of debt, and we all want God to get us out of debt. It's like student loans right now. Everybody's waiting on the president to pass a bill that they're gonna forgive their student loans. You know, the thing about it is, if God gave you an opportunity to go, he'll help you, but you got to help yourself. You got to start paying them. You got to start making that payment. He'll bring the extra money in. You know, the thing about it, there's doctors and lawyers out there that's got $200,000 or $300,000 worth of student loans, and they've been practicing law for the last 10 years, 15 years, because they just didn't take the money to pay it off. Now the thing about it is, again, we're talking about retiring. Again, we're talking about, probably most of you talking about retiring at least in the next 10 years. So the getting out of debt probably is one of the best things you can do. You know, I hear people say they want to pay off a house, but I see a lot of people who are getting in debt buying new houses. You know, it's a lot of ways you could come up with some stuff as far as getting out of debt. You can, if you got a house, you got equity, you can go and borrow money on the equity and pay off your bills. But the thing about it is, if you hadn't created discipline, what you're gonna wind up is consolidating all those bills, and then all of a sudden you're gonna feel like you got a lot of extra money, and you're just gonna go get in debt again somewhere else. Now you're gonna have that larger one bill, and you got debt for something else. You know, so you need to be able to get your structure together. You know, we talked about getting the accountability partner. You know, somebody that you can trust your finances with, not necessarily them making decisions for you, but sometimes you need somebody to run something by. You know, this is what I'm planning on doing. This is where I'm at. You know, I done had people come up to me and say, hey, look, I got an opportunity to buy a car, and I know their finances. And I said, well, you don't need to go buy no car. You need to save you some money and go buy your car you can pay for. And then you're riding around with no debt. It was kind of surprising today when we were walking out of the church. Kenny jumped in his little red car that he got for free and drove off. I said, man, it's still running. He said, yep. He said, I just need to get a tune up and get me some brakes put on it. I said, well, that's just regular maintenance. You know, and that would give you an opportunity to create more cash. You know, everybody wants to drive a new car. Everybody wants to live in a big, nice house. Everybody wants to do all that stuff until the monthly payment comes, and then they wish they didn't have it. Now, Beverly wants to got a comment.
Hi, I just wanted to give you some places to go to help you do your retirement. If you have never gone to ssa.gov, that's the Social Security Administration.gov, you need to go there and set up your account, your Social Security account. Number one, it's going to show you, for those of you who have been paying into Social Security, it's going to show you how much you have in Social Security already. It will also project at the end, when you get to such and such an age, you know, and if things keep going, how much you will have then. And if you're on your job, if you're on a job that has retirement, hopefully they still have retirement. You can also go to your HR department, or like we had a link that showed us how much retirement our company was going to pay us at such and if we did early retirement, if we stayed to 65, you know, get your numbers in order. That's one thing I wanted to stress. Get your numbers in order. How old are you? You know, think about that. How old are you? They said I think retirement now, Derek, is 67. Is that what it is? You know, it used to be 65 for us. We used to like, oh, when I get 65. But, you know, like Herbert retired at 50. And like he said, it had nothing to do with finances. It was, he had the time and the finances were there. You need to know, look at your age, check on your job to see if your job has your retirement, has a retirement for you. And go to SSA, Social Security Administration.gov, and go ahead and get your account, because that account is going to be very useful to you over the years. Your Medicare and all that's going to come through there. So you need to make sure you have those accounts. So like I said, check on your job, even your previous jobs. If you have worked anywhere, check and see if you had retirement with them. I don't know, some jobs you have to be there so long to be vested, and they start putting retirement up for you. But if you work somewhere 5, 6 years and then had to move on, there may be retirement there at that job. Don't wait and hope they come and find you. You go find your money, and make sure that you at least investigate, at least look for it. But your best friend when it comes to retirement is going to be SSA.gov. That's all I had to say.
Well,
Back to you,
thank
Herbert.
you. Thank you, Beverly. I got a couple things. One, you asked about retirement. It seems to be around 57, 58 that a lot of retirements, that's when you're eligible, around 57 or 58 anyway. But whether or not you got enough money to retire, that's another question. The second
Yeah,
thing
I think that's early retirement.
yeah.
But for the natural progression of retirement, it used to be 65, and I think they kicked it up to 67.
Right.
And right.
Right. The other thing I was going to mention is medical, because your medical health expenses, they've seen that most studies show might be the biggest expense you got, when you get older in retirement age. And one thing I found out about mine is, which is really great, and of course I work for the federal government, they will pay me, my medical coverage is the same as if I was still a working employee. Won't change. And I thought, man, that is great. So I don't know if all companies, private side, or if you work state government, have that kind of a medical benefit when you retire.
Hey, Derek.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna ask you this question right here. Now, if you happen to pass before Regina, would your insurance continue to cover her?
I believe so, but that's a good question. I believe it will, but I'll check. I know there's or either there's maybe additional amount you pay to make sure your spouse is covered.
Yeah.
But that's a good question,
Okay.
Harry.
Yeah, all that's
Thank
good
you.
information. As Beverly was talking about the Social Security, again,
Yes.
early Social Security withdrawals can start at 62. But most of the time that means it's about a 30% reduction in what you would get if you waited till you got to your full one.
Right.
Okay, the longer you wait, and that's another thing, is trying to figure out how much money you're gonna need. You got to look at, like I said, Beverly said, you go in there, you can project when you're gonna retire. And if it's after you, when you're gonna start drawing your Social Security, and that kind of determines, say right now, if you retired and your Social Security may be, say, $1,500 a month. But if you waited, instead of getting that 62, if you waited till you got 66, I think it's 66 and a half or something like that now, to get what they consider 100%. But if you actually waited till you're 70, you get a lot more. But if you waited till you were 60, it may be $2,000 a month.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
it's two ways of looking at that. One is you can start at 62. If you don't need the money, you just put the money in the bank. You put that $1,500 in the bank every month, and then when you get 65, you still got whatever amount of money you done drawn. But if you take that money and spend it, and you need to live off of it, it's not going to increase that much more after that.
Right.
So if the longer you wait, the more you can get per month.
Right.
And that will depends on how much money you done put down there, as far as how much you need to live off of.
Right.
Rent is going up. I mean, maybe you don't have a house right now, you might be renting. But I mean, people are walking out and picking it with signs because rent rates are going up so high.
Yep.
If you're on a fixed income and your rent goes from $1,500 to $1,900, that's a big jump.
Yes, it is.
Especially you ain't got no extra money coming in. Your pay ain't went up, but all your expenses now done went out. So you need to consider that. So you need to look into all that. There's a lot of things you have to look into, but the main thing is getting started. If you don't do nothing, if you put it off today, don't write down nothing we done talked about, don't follow up on any of the things, that's one less day you got to accomplish what you need to accomplish. Every day you need to be doing something towards that retirement. If there's no more than looking at what you got on the sheet and readjusting what you got as far as your budget and where you want to be. You got to get started. Your mindset is said, my why has got to be bigger than my why not.
You know, along the same lines, I know Regina probably hadn't worked at least 10 years as far as a regular job since Blake been born. Yet she got a Social Security statement. And the best I can figure, whatever they've got on record, she's probably made about $700,000. I'm like, babe, you better go get that money. That is your money out there. We better check on that. Hey, you worked, you made it, but yeah.
Regina's only 50, so she can't get her Social Security to another 12 years.
Oh, Herb, if you were not already married to my good friend, I'd be pursuing you, sir.
No, when you start getting those letters, man, you know something's up. It's beyond 50. Man.
Well, again, you know, you guys got to look at it at what you're gonna need to live off of at that time. And again, it goes back to what happens to somebody else's income. If I die, Beverly lose more money. The household lose more money if I die than if Beverly passed. So you have to look at how you can adjust your living style as a couple. That whoever the surviving couple are, they able to survive. You know, you don't want them to go from eating steak to eating spam just because they lost, you know, one of you, God took one of you home, because we never know who we're gonna leave.
Yeah, because I sure don't eat spam.
Well, if that's all you can eat, you eat it. But baby, you're gonna be all right. But again, these are the things you need to be looking at when you start looking at retirement. You need to be looking at what I need, what's the needs of the household. You know, right now we even looking at downsizing. We don't need a house with 5,000 square feet. So we're looking at downsizing. You know, I mean, just the extra expense. And when I look at expenses as far as moving, we're looking at, okay, do they have any kind of discount for seniors as far as your tax in your county? Now, I'm in Fulton County right now. They got some exempts that you can qualify for, but you can't be making no money. You got to be below poverty to take advantage of it. You know, there's some counties, I think Cobb County, it doesn't have a money amount. They'll take the school tax off. And if you look at your taxes, your school taxes is probably 50% of all your taxes on them. You know, so you look at stuff like that. You also need to look at healthcare. What's the healthcare in the neighborhood where you plan on moving to? Or where you gonna retire at? You know, what kind of, will your insurance cover you in that place? You know, y'all probably don't remember, but when Bishop had that accident playing basketball down in Florida, he couldn't come home. He was down there a month because the insurance company wouldn't pay for them to fly him home in a medvac, because what the injuries he had was prone to blood clots and stuff. So he couldn't get in the car and drive, and he couldn't fly. You know, so you have to look at every aspect of it. You know, and again, it may not be something, it sounds like a lot. And I know if you hadn't already started planning, to you, what we've been talking about seems like a lot of stuff you need to do. But if you just do one thing a day, check, like I said, check on your Social Security, check on what kind of retirement you got on your job, how much you'll be getting, you know, find out how much money you're gonna have to live off of, you know, little things that you could just check off. And once you check those things off, then you get down at, like I said, down at the bottom, the day you're gonna retire. You may have to move that date back a year. But then again, you might figure out I can move it up a year and retire a year earlier. It just depends on what kind of lifestyle you're planning on having. You know, are you going to continue? See, one thing about it, when I retired at 50, I knew we still were going to be buying cars. You know what I mean? I knew we were going to still have to buy cars. So we still had to, in our budget, we still had to figure out, okay, we need a certain amount of money for car note or car repair. upkeep for the cars and stuff. Now, if I had waited to now, I'm 72 years old, I might have said, well, the car I got now, maybe the last car I'm gonna buy. You know, because it may last me 10 years. Now,
Right.
one thing I did do is that we always had newer cars, but my Z car, it was an old, I bought it in 02, October 02, and I sold it last year. So I had that car 19 years. And out of the 19 years, 17 of them, the car was paid for. And what I would do every time I would get car fever, I would just go get something else done to the car. I buy a new set of wheels on it. I get some stripes put on it.
You spend enough money then, I'm telling you, make this itself. Yes, sir.
You know, just to keep from getting a car note. And when I sold it, it was still, I mean, it's still good. But after 19 years, I still sold it for $8,500.
Yep. There you go.
So it paid for itself multiple times.
Yep.
But you have to look at all that. You got to look at every aspect of your retirement. Now, now the big thing is, now we had people on here today that was in their 30s. I mean, they could just start saving $100 a month. And 10 years or 15 years now, they wouldn't have to save any more money. The money would multiply, compound interest to a point where they would have enough at retirement. But when you're already past 50, you got a catch-up period. You need to be putting as much as you can into a tax-deferred account. And then even at that point, if you can after you reach that 17% limit, you need to start putting money into a Roth, RIA. You need to start doing that. Now that's after tax money. But the good thing about that Roth is that when you get ready to take the money out, there's no tax applied to it. So you need to have some kind of backup. Okay. Now I noticed a couple people on here, they are single. So that means they have to really plan it a lot more than couples. Because now couples got to feed two people, but they also, most times gonna have two Social Securities, maybe two retirements. Right now, Beverly and I have 7 streams of income. So you got to have other streams of income. You need to be looking for something. Fury, I know you take pictures and stuff like that. That's great. That's extra money coming in right there. But it's also one of those physical things that you have to do. So if you get to a point where you're not physically able to go out and take pictures, then that means you lost that income. So everybody needs to look at some kind of way to bring in additional income in retirement. Okay. Any other questions?
Go ahead, Regina. You got your hand up.
Go ahead.
Well, it's more of a follow-up to something that Beverly shared, and she was absolutely right when she was talking about going back to jobs that you had in the past to make sure you're not leaving any money on the table. The most important thing to remember about doing that is if you do have money in a previous employer's retirement plan, you want to make sure that you do a direct rollover. You want to roll that money from your old company's account into a new Roth IRA or traditional IRA, because if you do it where they send the money to you and then you take it and deposit it into your new retirement account, you're going to lose 35–40% of it in taxes before it even gets to your mailbox. You got to make sure you tell your old employers, plural, you want to do a direct rollover so it does not come to you at all. It is not made payable to you. It does not come to your house. They electronically roll it over from their account to your new retirement account, because otherwise you're going to lose a great big fat chunk of it in taxes and penalties for early withdrawal.
Well, in some cases, if it was a company retirement plan, it's not really money that you can roll over. It's money that you can start receiving just like a regular retirement. But if you was only there 10 years And at 65, you might be able to get $200 for that 10 years that you spent there. You know, if it's a 401 or that type of account where you actually putting money in and they was matching it or whatever, yeah, you can roll that over. But most times you can't roll. And you really have to check, because some companies went out of business, but they still had retirement accounts set up. It still was a thing. So that's why you need to check on it to find out. You know, you always see, I don't know if you see it sometimes on Facebook or something like that. They were having something about the federal government has X amount of dollars that people hadn't claimed. You know, sometimes banks will do that. We got X amount of dollars that we owe people that they hadn't came to get. You know, this may be your money, you know, but all those things you need to follow through on. You need to be able to go and check. It don't hurt. I mean, just call to HR and find out, okay, look, I worked back there 20 years ago. I was there for 5 or 10 years. Did I have any kind of retirement plan there? Or was there anything left there that I can collect when I get 62 or 65? And you'll be surprised, those extra little streams of income may be what's going to help you get over the hump in retirement.
And I want to make one comment too. Most of us on now, like Herbert said, we're over 50, but we have children who are, in their 30s and 20s, and some of us got kids in their 50s. But our retirement is as good as how long we stay with the company. I know it, I was with UPS for 35 years. Herbert was there for 30 years, and we have excellent retirement. We have excellent benefits. Young people today, for some reason, they got kangaroo mentality. They hop from here to here to here to here. Talk to your children about finding a place and being there. Take some time, because, the longevity pays off in the long run. So that's one of the things what we need to teach our kids is stop chasing the money and start chasing a future, and make sure that they are at a place where they are going to have a retirement, because young folks today they're just spending their money. They don't think about tomorrow. We need to start teaching our young people to think about tomorrow.
Hey, Herb and Bev, I gotta ask you guys, and this is just a general question, because again, retirement and what you're receiving, your Social Security, your retirement, you mentioned 7 streams incomes. How do you guys look at the tax situation that after retirement, because you still got income and the tax, even if you're in business, there's taxable income because of employment versus business taxes. So how does that kind of work for you guys as far as being aware of what you need to know about taxes in retirement?
Well, the thing about it is your tax burden is based on how much money you make.
Mm-hmm.
The money you got coming in, your retirement is taxable. Your Social Security is taxable. Any income you make somewhere else is taxable. So the tax bracket you're going to be in depends on, normally what it used to be was your tax bracket is going to be low because you're not making as much money in retirement as you was when you're working. But if you want to keep your same lifestyle, you got to be making at the amount that you were making or more to stay at that level. So that means your tax burden is still the same as it was if you were working. There's no tax-free in the government gonna get some money from you. One way or the other.
Got that right.
You would think, okay, I put in Social Security, I paid tax on that Social Security when it went in there. Why I got to pay tax on it now? So the only way you can stop paying tax on your Social Security or anything that you're gonna get is that money is gonna have to be below poverty level.
Oh, so the government want us poor?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, they want you. No, they don't want you poor. They want you almost poor. So if you're poor, okay, they're gonna have to take care of you.
That's
but if you're almost poor, you still paying taxes.
You still paying taxes. You got that right, man.
But again, those are the things you run into. I can tell you that for Beverly and I, being on the side of retirement is better than being on the side of working.
Oh, I can see that you're more in control of your time.
Yeah, because
Yeah, you
now
plan
you're in a
for it.
little bit more control of your time. Of course,
Yes.
now that takes discipline too, because like Bishop was saying, you know, today when we was talking about getting up early and stuff. Well, when you got all day to do nothing, getting up early is not exciting. You know, you got 24 hours to do nothing. I mean, if you looked at it that way. Now we're still kind of busy, but we're doing stuff that we enjoy doing.
There you go. That's what I want to do because I think I'd be bored. As a matter of fact, I've heard more people talk about how they retire bored. But just yesterday, man, I was at a guy that owns a tire shop. Okay, he's been in that business like 30 years, dealing with tires and cars. Okay, he retired. I think he said, I guess 6 years ago. Okay.
Uh-huh.
But he came back. So it's been 6 years. But the reason he said he came back, he was missing people, man. He retired to come back. Now, I guess he looks like he owns the shop, you know.
Okay.
Great guy, does great bit. But the fact he had retired for about a year, he said he missed people. That's why he got out of retirement. And I find more and more to be with the case. The number of people I've talked to.
If you go into retirement and there's really no purpose in your life, I mean, it's nothing that you're doing that you enjoy doing, you know, it can become boring.
Yes.
You know, but you know, they always said, you know, retire, even if you're not planning on going back to work, you can go volunteer. You know, you could go volunteer at a hospital, you go volunteer for the Red Cross. You know, it's just like doing voting. If you notice, most of all the people working at the voting thing, most of them are elderly people.
Right.
Well, you know, okay, you only gonna have to work 3-4 times a year.
That's
but
right.
you're out there all day meeting people. You know, you got to go to training, you got to go do stuff like that. So it gives you something to do, you know,
right.
And that's what you need to do. You got to stay active. You can't just retire and sit back. You know, like I can see right now, you in that easy chair. It'd take probably a good little bit for somebody to pull you out of there right now.
Hey, I'm on Zoom with you. But
that cushion is just swallowing you up.
but you're right. What you said in the beginning, Herb. Why? You got to have a why. And the other things I think we learned from Bishop, purpose. You got to have a why and a purpose.
Well, see, like, example, when Beverly retired, she worked at the church.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
10 years. Yeah, I did. After I retired from UPS, I actually worked at the church for 10 years. I actually worked at the school at the church for several years, and I was on staff at the church for several years.
There you go.
You know, Bishop talked about your CPA, your calling, your purpose, and your assignment.
Yes, ma'am.
You are going to have a calling, purpose, and assignment, whether you are working somebody's 9 to 5 or whether or not you're retired. You're in retirement. So you might as well, you know, if you start working now, if you start planning now, then whatever your CPA is, when you retire, you can do it more joyfully. You have more, your attitude will be different. You know, you're not having to try and juggle so much of life. So retirement, it should be something that, okay, it's like Herbert said, it's eventually going to come, but it's something you should plan for and be excited about, knowing that God has a purpose for you. When your time comes to retire, God's got that date. You may not know what it is yet. You know, we set our date, and luckily we were able to come out on that date. Well, as a matter of fact, I prayed up my date. And but the thing is that God will always meet you where you are. So go ahead and start planning, and don't just plan, you know, just to sit around and figure out what you're going to do. You know, figure it out now. Lord, when I retire, I want for you to use me. These are my gifts and talents. What can I do? You know, this is how we as Christians need to think about our retirement. Like Bishop said, you never retire from the ministry. You never retire from doing what God has called you to do. But at least be prepared so God can use you. You know, I always say, you know, God can use anybody, but he's sure not going to use broke folk like he's going to use folk that's got some money. We have to have some income. We have to have some resources. So we need to set ourselves up so that we can have resources. And that's what retirement is all about, setting yourself up so that you can have resources, not just for yourself, but for the kingdom. And I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, everybody, it's almost 4 o'clock. Regina, do you want to give away the prize today or?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, now the thing is, everybody that's on the line, I think, has won already, except for, I don't know who FT is, but I do know who Juanita is. So they are the only 2 people on the line today that are eligible to win the prize.
Okay, Fury, right? And that's who FT is?
Yeah, we have Fury on the line and we have Juanita.
All right, so ladies, Beverly has Mr. Herb has the last multiple choice question. Oh, I remember what it is. So
I can
gotta
read
take
it,
yourselves, ladies, take yourselves off mute because it's a one-shot multiple choice question, and whoever gives me the right answer will win our last prize from this session of Master Your Money. And the question is, which agency is responsible for printing paper money in the United States? Is it A, the United States Mint, B, the United States Treasury, or C, the Federal Bureau of Engraving and Printing?
B. I say B.
Who said
Who said
C?
B?
I said B.
Did somebody say
that?
C?
Fury said B.
Fury said B, as in boy.
Gotcha.
Juanita, what do you say?
The Mint, Federal Mint.
Oh,
Miss Wanda is on, I believe.
Miss Wanda has won a prize already.
Oh, okay, that's true.
Oh my goodness gracious. Actually, the answer is C, the Federal Bureau of Engraving and Printing. And fun fact, we got a chance to travel with Derek back in 2019. Wow, it's been 3 years already. In June or July, Derek was going to DC for a trip for work and Blake was out of school. So we got a chance to go with him, and we actually took a tour of the Federal Bureau of Engraving and Printing, and we got to see them actually literally make the money. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. And I would have some pictures or videos to share, but they had federal marshals there to make sure not only that your phone or whatever had to be off, it couldn't be on vibrate, it had to be off. And if they saw you even take it out of your pocket, they would escort you off the premises, confiscate it, and delete all your videos, all your pictures, whatever. But it was amazing to see how they literally make the money.
I have one question. One, you have been on all 4 of the classes, right?
That's
Yes.
correct. Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
she
so we're
has.
probably gonna have a special prize for you too, because you have been the only one, I think, that's been on all 4 of them.
Oh, wow.
Congratulations, Miss Wanda. We so greatly appreciate you. And I hope that these classes have not only been a benefit, but a blessing to your life.
They have been, even today. Thank you, Deacon Herb. That was excellent. Thank you so much.
It was excellent. Mr. Herb and Mrs. Beverly did an absolutely phenomenal job.
Well, if you have any future questions, go to Derek and Regina.
Hey, before we get out, I just want to say, number one, thank you to Bishop for asking us to do this as a team, and for the foresight to know that all the classes we have are much needed, and they've been very great. And just I want to thank Herb and Beverly, man. You guys did such an excellent job, and what you've shared, and I hope everyone, man, and since it's recorded, well, just go back and listen, and just very practical insight, and a lot of wisdom. And hey, it makes me think about all the work I got to do, so I can be where you guys are. So thank you guys so much, and once again, everybody that's been on and participated, thank you guys.
Okay, well, we're getting ready to sign off. And if you hear anybody at church complaining about their finances, ask them, were they on the class? They said no, you just tell them they was not serious.
That part, sir, that part.
Yeah, that too. All right, go get the tape.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna say, I was trying to get to the first class and it didn't come up, but the other classes came up.
Okay, so you was on 3 of them?
No. I was working, so therefore I couldn't get on any of them, especially the first one.
Oh, okay.
But if they would put the first class out there, because I listened to the one from last week.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, hey, God had just the one you needed.
Almost definitely, because I am definitely in retirement, in that retirement zone, thinking about what I need to do next, because I am definitely, if I can retire this year, I'll be gone. But I know, like you said, I have to, God just has me putting things in.
Well, like I said, you got to write it down, and you may look at it and you may be able to retire next month, but you ain't gonna know unless you put it on paper and look at it.
Correct. And I'm sorry, I got noise because I'm heading to Tennessee. I'm on the road headed to Tennessee, so that's why you use some noise when I talk. So I try not to talk. But yes,
Okay, well,
I agree.
we pray you have a safe trip then.
Thank you.
Be safe on the road, Fury.
And we'll see you guys later.
All
Thank
right,
you.
y'all have a great
Bye,
week.
thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.